Adventure Ho, Illumineers, and welcome back to another episode of Ducktail Dads. My name's Ryan. I'm joined by Nathaniel. No Mac this week. He is on a Disney vacation or just coming back from one. So, lucky guy, got to actually go to the Disneyland and celebrate Disney, all things Disney there. We are joined by a special guest tonight, though. Welcome back, Uncle Scrooge. Konnor, happy to have you. Can't wait to hear more about your Set Champs experience and to get your input with your deck building mind for Attack of the Vine and everything we heard from the Lorecast. So, welcome back, Konnor. What's new in your world, man?
Thank you. Again, always a pleasure to be back on the podcast. So, what's new in my world? Personal wise, we have just been fighting bugs left and right. Again, I don't know if people remember if I'd mentioned in the past, but like a fellow Ducktail dad, Nathaniel, I have a pair of twins at the house, and they are just walking petri dishes and bring back any and all diseases and infections and sicknesses. And the last 2 or 3 days, we've just been fighting it. So we're on the up and up. Things are looking good, and we can go back outside and interact with others again. So we're having fun there. But from the Lorcana side, I went to a Set Champs this past weekend. It's my first one of the set, maybe my only, hopefully not. However, had some success, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, overall, enjoying the set and very, very excited for what is coming.
Wow, Konnor. Like I said, I can't wait to hear more about your Set Champs experience just in a little bit here. Sorry to hear that your family's fighting off more bugs. Seems like it's just a never-ending cycle, and hopefully that cycle breaks sooner than later for you. And hopefully the summer months will keep it at bay for sure.
Always.
For sure. Nathaniel, what's new in your world?
Well, it was Father's Day this last weekend, so to both of you and to Mac and all the other fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Hope you all were able to enjoy that weekend. Usually pretty fun, I think, for most dads out there. But it was really awesome. My wife and I have been kind of looking at potentially replacing our grill. And so this weekend, I was able to, instead of just getting a grill, I got a hybrid grill and smoker. So
Whoa.
I am very excited for all the things I will make on that. So I spent the weekend getting that ready to go, seasoned and all that fun stuff. So now I can start to cook things on there. So very, very good and on-brand Father's Day gift from the wife on that one. From a Lorcana perspective, I was actually lucky enough to be selected for the Rapunzel playmat. That is like the exclusive one. So super cool. Excited to get that. I think it just shipped. So excited to see that arrive in the mail. I hope that many of you out there that entered that raffle were also able to get that as well. I'm not sure exactly how many they were provisioning, but it's super cool, and it matches very directly the Set Champs card, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, as well today. But yeah, that was really cool. And then for my other thing from a Lorcana news is I have actually joined a local team here in Minnesota called Team Arcana. So I touched on this a little bit ago on one of the other episodes where when I played Ernie and I was just kind of emotional after the game. What I didn't share about this is that Ernie and I made a gentleman's agreement that if I ever was able to possibly somehow maybe beat him in a top cut, he would potentially talk to the other members of Team Arcana and open up a spot for me to join that team if I could beat him, where the stakes were a little bit higher. So that kind of upped the ante a little bit for me. So I wasn't just playing to continue my Set Champs run or to try to get to a playmat. It was also so I could join that team as well. And so, yeah, they were very nice and gracious to invite me into that team. So I'm officially part of that now. So more to come on that. I think potentially things we can do. I don't know. Who knows? But that is my news from a Lorcana perspective. I did not get out to any Set Champs, sadly. I'm really hoping to get to one more because I just think this is a really fun set. And I think I'm going to be committed to maybe not running something purple. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I got. Ryan, what's new in your world, man?
Full flip to the other side of the other side of the Lorcana world with no purple in your deck. That's crazy. It's been 6 sets now that you've been on purple? Crazy work.
I think it has legitimately been
wild.
6 sets.
Also, congrats on officially getting the invite and joining up with Team Arcana. I know you've been looking forward to that and the opportunity hopefully presenting itself at some point. So I'm glad were able to have the opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity to explore that avenue for your social calendar as well as your Lorcana playing calendar for sure. What's new in my world? Personally, we're getting ready and ramped up for a fun adventure where our kiddos get to go for a sleepover with their cousins, and my wife and I get to go on a vacation. So that'll be fun.
Wow.
It will be a whole mix of emotions, I'm sure. Missing the kiddos dearly, always, but also getting to link up and meet up again with some of our old friends that we haven't seen in a hot minute. So it's always fun to get back together with friends and to celebrate weddings and things like that. So that's what we're going for, is a wedding. So that'll be fun. Otherwise, on Father's Day, I was able to spend the day at a set championships. So that's on my Lorcana news as well. There was fortunately a set championship that started at 10 a.m., which is amazing. And we got through 8 rounds of a set championship, and I left by 5, which is blistering pace for any sort of organized tournament, to say the least. 8 rounds in 7 hours is quite the feat. So I was really happy with that outcome. And then I found a lot of success on the day, and I ended up walking away with the set championship playmat. So got a number 1 finish under my belt, and I can't wait to see what that ELO score jumps up on the Minnesota website now. I'm sure I don't think it'll rocket me above Nathaniel here, but it might jump me a few spots. It was a great field. It was a fun field. A very fitting field. I kind of brought almost the perfect deck for the field that was at the tournament, just based on there was a handful of red purple, and we'll talk more about it. But otherwise, we also celebrated my niece's birthday last weekend, so it was a fun-filled family weekend, and then I had some Lorcana in there too. That was my first set champs, and I'm hoping to make it to one more. Let's get into set champs, though. I wanna talk a little bit more about our experiences. Right now, we've been pleasantly successful, I would say, between the 3 of us. We have 2 first place finishes and a second place finish in the 3 events that we've entered so far. So kudos to both of you for massive success on that front. Konnor, I want to hear more about your tournament on Saturday. What was the field like? Was it all one deck? Was it diverse meta? And then what did you see? Just kind of briefly run through your rounds and how you felt on what you were piloting.
Yeah, absolutely. So this tournament was a little bit different for me. I had gone in with the intentions of trying to, get top 8. That's usually my goal for all the set champs. And I decided not to walk around and look at what other people were playing. I decided, stick with what I got, know my lines, know my matchups, and just go and not try and worry about, okay, so this person's playing dogs, this person's playing, a Ruby Steel locations deck, which was true, and it did look pretty great. But the game plan was just, keep my head down, keep focusing, and keep going forward, which, I mean, it worked well for me. I was playing a very cliche blue-green. However, I did not have a playset of the new Milo Thatch. So I only had 2, which it came in handy, but I really wish I had a playset. It would have been really nice. But I over the course of 5 rounds, I got to the final. Unfortunately, lost to dogs on the draw. Very well piloted by a gentleman named Ben. Everyone there was so nice, so kind. One of the people who I had played in the first round, he gave me 2 Milo Thatches from his deck and said, like, hey, just hang on to these. I have like 10 at home. I was like, that is incredible. Like that's what can I pay you? What can I Venmo? He's like, just don't worry about it. It's like we've met, now we're friends, we're all good to go. Which again just speaks numbers to the Minnesota Lorcana community. Incredibly gracious, incredibly kind. But overall, the field was about 13 people, so a top cut to 4. And from what I can recall, I didn't go around, but inevitably I did play a fair amount of people. There was an Amber Steel Lilo Stitch deck that was very fun. Ruby Steel locations, very cool. I think 1 or 2 Ruby Amethyst, and a couple Dogs players, and then 2 Blue Greens, I believe. And so there was a few I did not run into. I don't really know what they were playing. I know. Let's see. Yeah, I think that I can't say that there was much else. But overall, I had a great time. Went to Bunker Games out in Ramsey, and so again, shout out to that store. It's a fantastic store. But yeah, I got to my second final in my Lorcana career, and sadly lost my second final in my Lorcana career. So we're still hunting that mat. However, I am very much encouraged by the recent improvement on my Lorcana placements. So usually it was just like, oh, just get top eight. Now it's like, oh, maybe get top four. And now we're even thinking like, okay, maybe I could start challenging for things being a little bit more competitive. So overall, I felt pretty great piloting it. I got fairly lucky. Never really missed a ramp. Saw the cards I needed. I don't think I had too many misplays, but if I watched the replay, I wouldn't doubt that I probably had a couple decisions that could have gone better, but nothing completely obvious. But overall, I had a great time. So happy to get a promo, a Woody promo, and just to get out on a Father's Day weekend. It was a blast, and very fortunate that I had the opportunity.
And for those who might be wondering, Konnor has been playing blue-green since before it was cool, right? So I know you've been playing blue-green at least since set 7 or 8. 8 at the absolute latest. I remember distinctly, Jafar, you were on blue-green for quite a bit of that.
Yes, it was. So I want to say maybe towards the tail end of 6, going into 7, I was thinking like, oh, blue-green's kind of interesting. I want to try this out, really, working around the ramping, getting Clarabelle, and just getting a ton of cards. And then, yeah, it became very popular. I thoroughly enjoyed multiple different variants. I did get to the final in Reign of the Jafar with blue-green as well. A very entertaining but disgusting list of the muses bouncing everything back and forth. Ryan shaking his head.
Ooh, the muses.
Yes, but though the muses are out, the toxic gameplay sometimes still comes around. I fear I did bend to my will the same turn as I sang Under the Sea to wipe the board and their hand against a dogs player. Becky, sorry, so sorry. But overall, yeah, it's a fun deck to play and a lot of different options.
Yeah, I mean, I think to kind of further that point, Konnor, I don't think blue-green really caught on, or for those who are Emerald Sapphire, really caught on until probably Fabled, right? Like, that was when it started to become one of these, like, maybe top 5-ish played decks. So, I mean, you had been playing it for the better part of 2 full sets before that even happened. So you had been tinkering with your list and kind of trying out other cards, like the Emerald Raya, for example. Heffalumps was something that you have cycled in and out, much to Mac's chagrin, right? But, like, you've not only, like, gone with this, but you've really tinkered a ton with it, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What were maybe some of those cards? I know you said you only had 2 Milos in your deck, but like, what were some of those cards maybe that, like, when people think of blue-green, right, like, what comes to my mind is, well, it's Under the Sea, it's Philip Combo, it's Clarabelle, it's Cindy and Ramp, but, like, what were maybe some of those Konnor cooking decisions that you made?
Yeah, for this upcoming set, or for this set, or any previous set?
For the one that you just played in, like,
Yes.
maybe were there any cards specifically?
Yeah, so I was able to talk to none other than Ducktail Dad Ryan the night before, and I was initially going to play something else, and then we had a conversation in very classic Lorcana player. She's like, "Oh, let's just go ahead and play blue green," and just like swap the deck right before playing. But we kind of workshopped some ideas, and I was thinking about other ways that could slow down some aggressive decks. And very much like the Heffalumps and Woozles, I was playing some strange things are happening to me, where it's you lock 2 characters from being able to quest and draw a card. It's a 4-cost song, inkable. It's really nice. Definitely unexpected. I definitely had to show people what the card was, and they're like, what does that do again? And so that was a lot of fun, being able to play that. So it's just, I don't know if I take much more joy in Lorcana other than when somebody asks to ask, like, what a card is that? Like, what are you even playing? And so it's a lot of fun. And so playing some different techniques and types is, yeah, always entertaining.
Okay, I love that you said that, because I've seen, like, on certain things, like software out there, they might, like, show a deck list and it will say something to the effect of X% spiciness, right? If you have an opponent have to ask you, can I read that on your card? That's a spice card, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has to be. Like,
Of course.
If they have to ask that question, you have some spice in your deck and you are having a good day, whether, results be darned, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Konnor, as always, I love that you include those things and you can still perform well with them. and you kind of know how it plays into your deck. And just being a tinkerer, I think, is such a fun thing. And I think being a deck builder at heart, right, like you are able to find some of these really fun synergies, and it's a very impressive skill set. So kudos to you for consistently bringing that to the table and wowing us and the community with cards that people have to double check. What does that do?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I think it's just the fun is just beginning. Now that rotation's coming up, there's going to be a ton of new cards to play, and definitely some hidden talent amongst the new sets. So I'm definitely looking forward to bringing the spice.
Yeah, I love that you included the strange things. I think it's a fantastic include to change up the math at the end of the game to sneak in underneath or give yourself an extra turn or two without your opponent questing out, and it fits so well with Cindy, and just love that it's very thematic for both you and for the deck. Since in the way that I know you like to play the deck, so I'm glad you were able to play that card on your tournament run and find some success with it.
Yeah, thank you.
And also enjoy the pure dopamine rush of when someone asks, "Can I read that card?"
Yeah.
What does that do again?
What even is that?
And then this like lights up in your brain, like, perfect, that's exactly what we're going for. And oh yeah, here you go, you can read the card.
Oh yeah.
That's so cool. And then so what you saw, remind me what you saw throughout the day.
So I played the Baja Mirror round 1. Then I played a Ruby Amethyst Boosty Boys is what they've been called. I don't know if that's a formal name or if that's just something that we've said, but played that in round 2.
Amber Ruby?
Sorry, Ruby Amethyst.
Red purple.
Yeah. But it had the Ruby Scrooge was the primary boost card, maybe with the Aladdin too.
So it was a very interesting. It was kind of a Ruby boost deck / toys deck as well, because they really leaned in heavy on getting out like Jane, that like is it 1-cost 1/1 that when it's banished,
Pterodactyl Janie doll.
Yeah, Janie. And also Sid. And so then it was working with, your Elsa's kind of exert things, crashing in your toys and banishing toys, and having Sid, and then boosting up your Scrooge McDuck. And so like there's a couple of different mechanics involved. So I guess maybe calling it the Boosty Boys isn't necessarily traditional, but that was round 2. It was a fun deck to play against because again it was unique. It wasn't. It's something I had to think about on the fly. It's like, what do I even expect for this next turn? And so it's a little bit more entertaining, I guess, from my perspective. But round 3 was, gosh, I can't remember what it was.
Dogs.
Yes. Oh, yes. I was Becky on dogs on the draw dogs. So that's a tough one, but was able to pull that one off. Round 4 was the Lilo and Stitch Amber Steel deck, and then of course getting back to the final was the dogs again on the draw. So I used up my luck the first time beating dogs on the draw with Baja, but got forced to game 3, but just couldn't find the juice. So but yeah, it was overall. It was a great experience, really. I mean, played multiple different types of decks, fun decks, cool decks, all that. So it was good.
That's incredible. Slightly much different field than what I saw. Not slightly, much different field than what I saw at my event. We had 20 plus players, and there was like 4 to 5 Ruby Amethyst decks, different variants of it, depending on what they wanted to include. There's a lot of good cards to pick from in Ruby and Amethyst, how big or how little you want your deck to go. Control-y versus aggro-y. There was 4 to 5 or maybe more dogs decks in the room. There was Ruby Steel. There was a couple of blurples. There was 2 blue-greens. One was more of like Todd Burst Lore, and one was your traditional like control combo thing. There was Amethyst Steel, like hyper aggro burn deck that I faced, that I played twice, and I was about to pass out from anxiety in both of them because they would just go so fast. If you miss one thing, it's just over because they get too much lore too fast. There was another, I think there's an Amber Ruby aggro list. I saw maybe it was more like a mid-range list because they played a Minnie Mouse 0/8 bodyguard, and then they played a Dale the next turn. I said, I was watching this game happen. I'm like, oh, that's mean. That is, that's mean. So I have an 8/8 bodyguard on turn like 5, and it's like, oh yeah, we can probably go next. I don't think I'm getting through that. I think they were playing another like aggro list, so. That was interesting. And then there was a Amethyst Steel Dwarves deck playing right behind you, and the other dwarf action, I forget the name of it. So that was an interesting list where they were trying to like the big blow up thing was to play the 7/7 2 questing 7 cost Inkable Grumpy, I think, the big dwarf on turn 3, and then other than that, just doing like Snow White things and traditional purple steel or amethyst steel, like 1, 2, 3, play a 4-drop, sing strength, and see how you go from there. So that was fun to see all those type of decks in the room. And it lined up very well for me because there was enough of the anti-dogs, like purple decks. There was a yellow purple. There was an amber amethyst in the room too. I played them, of course there was. So there's enough of the like anti-dogs decks, like heavy ruby amethysts that are like playing Elisa Maza and all these like Scrooges and things like that, just to like beat up on dogs and make sure that they don't have a good time, and to eat up all those dogs lists. And then there was a ruby steel that was eating up all the dogs lists, and then there was all these like aggro lists that were like going way too fast for dogs, even though dogs can you handle that very well. So that was fine for me, and then I found a nice pathway with a couple of ruby amethyst lists toward the top end of the tournament to make my path a little bit better on my Blurple list to get to the final, and then had enough dogs practice and enough dogs tech in my deck to pull it out in the end over a couple of very good dogs players and very solid decks. The craziest. So shout out to another Team Arcana member, I believe, Nathaniel, the other Nathaniel on the Team Arcana team. Maybe we'll call him the first Nathaniel since he was there before you. Anyways, he was the player that I faced in the final. He's a really good guy. Met him a few times, and it's always a good time when he's around. But his opening line in game 1, I was panicked. I just like the things that the dogs that can do are just crazy. He played a 1-drop Pluto, and then on his turn 2, after I ramped on my turn 2, so I had one character on board. He had his Pluto. On his turn 2, he exerted the Pluto, played a Grandmother Willow for 1, inked, played another Grandmother Willow for 1 using the first Grandmother Willow effect, then used a second Grandmother Willow effect to play another 1-cost character. So now he has 4 characters on his board. He has 3 discounts if he turns Pluto sideways. If I do nothing to his board, he can play a Tramp for free and then filter 4 cards and still have his entire turn left to do whatever he wants. Thankfully, I was able to play an Isis to try to start trimming the board down a little bit to make that Tramp not quite completely free, but still, it was a terrifying opener, and I was like, I need to see exactly what I need to see right on time, otherwise I don't think I'm going to get there on this one. Thankfully, I did see what I needed to see right on time, so obviously it takes a little luck to go the distance and get a set chance to win, and I found some luck along the way too, so... it was a blast. I love that store. It was over at Two Bros in a Box in the Stillwater, Minnesota area. Great store owner, and the store actually expanded. They're a much bigger space than they were even just last set. So in the last couple of months, they've, I think, doubled or 2.5x their footprint in the place that they're located. So it was a much larger area inside the store. We weren't playing in the hallway of the mall like we were for set 11, which is an ambiance of its own, and I was totally fine with that in set 11. It was just a little bit more contained in set 12, which was nice. It was nice to have that many people in the room and the excitement around Lorcana buzzing around. Great store owner, great store. Check it out if you're in the area. I've had two great experiences there with 2 great set championships, and they, like I said, the fact that we got through 8 rounds in 7 hours is baffling, but also I'm very grateful to all the dogs players out there in the field to make those rounds go as fast as possible, so we're not playing blue-green mirrors until 90 minutes are on the clock because turns take forever anyways. So thankfully it was a pretty pleasant day. I had a great time.
Speaking of blue-green taking forever, my round 1 blue-green mirror was the first match done in the room. And it's partially because both my opponent and I knew exactly when to say, yeah, no, you've got this one. And I think it's just like, oh, bounce, bounce, bend. And you're like, yep, scoop. We were done in the first 25 to 30 minutes because it's like at certain points you're like, you've got the board, you've got it, there's no chance. And over. So you gotta have to know when to call it quits and scoop.
That's a very good call out, actually. That happened in my round 3 when I was playing the Amber Amethyst player that I faced. Another great Minnesota Lorcana community member. His name's Garrett. He's very active in the Discord, and he's very, very nice, very thoughtful, and very personable human. So it was great to chat with him and meet him in person. But Amber Amethyst, I think it was game one. We were like back and forth, obviously, as purple mirror amethyst mirrors go, or amethyst matchups go. And then at some point, I think I got control, and then was like about to run away with it with like card draw and things like that, and the board control. And I think I don't remember, but I think he scooped in game one with like after a little bit, and we took some pretty long games because purple decks draw a lot of cards and have a lot of decision points and moving damage and paying ink and everything like that. And then I distinctly remember in game two multiple times as I think I won the dice roll, thankfully, in that matchup. But in game two, when I was on the draw, I remember looking at the clock many times thinking, like, do I need to just like let it go at this point? Not play the card, but just move on to the next game. Or do I just try to play it out and see, like, oh, if I top deck something good here, I can, like, is there a path for me to get through this? Or is this just too far gone at this point? And eventually I did scoop, and we went to game three with some time left on the clock, which was nice. And then we did end up finishing in time, playing a little bit of a speed round there in the third game, but not too much of a speed run, I would say. But yeah, it is a very important skill to develop as you get more and more play experience under your belt, to know at what point is the point of no return where they're like, yeah, I could maybe scrap this out for like this very slim glimmer of hope where they only draw 1 and 2 cost characters for the next 4 turns, and I draw all of my best characters for the next 4 turns. But the chances of that are low. The chances that your opponent's actually going to have to play those 1 and 2 cost characters versus the cards they already have in their hand, and just what is the point of no return at which you just like scoop up your cards, shuffle them back up, and go to the next game to preserve the time on the clock, because that is important to keep in mind in this type of event or tournament. If you notice your games are starting to go pretty long, just offer a reminder, just like, hey, there's 60 minutes left on the clock, or hey, we both need to go a little bit faster on our turns just to make sure we're getting through these 3 games in time, because it seems like we are both very thoughtful players and we want to make sure we're making the right decisions. We just need to be a little bit mindful of the clock still. All right.
So Ryan, question about that, because not just the clock management, which I agree, huge skill set there. But I'm curious because I think historically what we've talked about with the dogs versus blurple matchup is that it's generally not a fun time for the blurple player, but it kind of feels like maybe some of the recent changes to the dogs list, i.e. perhaps taking out things like, I don't know, a particular item known as the Emerald Chromacon. Maybe that has helped increase the odds a little bit for a blurple player. Or, I mean, you mentioned getting some cards on time, the Vanderchill being pretty huge on turn 3, and then interacting with the board again with like an Elsa or something on turn 4. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think a set or two ago, it was like, oh my goodness, if you're blurple and you're lining up against a dogs player, it felt like maybe they brick, maybe I hit the perfect line, I can have a chance, but this feels really uphill. Like maybe my worst matchup as the blurple player.
Yeah. So I think some of the change has been the fact that dogs was brand new earlier in the advent of dogs. I think early in set 11 is when it really started to rise to prominence, if I'm not mistaken. What happened there was that it was a lot of unknown, right? So blurple had been around for a while, everyone knew what to tech against for that, but dogs was just like unknown, that nobody knew how to attack it effectively. So there's a little bit of familiarity that's creeping in now with the wilds at the end of the wilds unknown here. The other piece is that I think one of the biggest changes is dogs opting to add in Eleanor, which I would also do the same because it's incredible against every list. Every character out there gets pinged damage by it. You get to deal damage, draw a card, gain a lore. Like that's everything you need to do to win a Lorcana game. But adding in Eleanor and taking out things like, I think they took out Emerald Chromacon, I think some lists did, just because it just made for some really grindy games. You don't necessarily need it all the time, and you can just, Della's and Under the Sea most things. So at the very least, Chromacon would slow things down for your opponent. The other piece, the big change, was they put in Eleanor, and then they actually end up taking out some copies of the Big Lady, the 5 cost uninkable 4/4 that shifts for 3 onto a lady, and then quest for 2, and then you return 2 character cards of cost 2 or less from your discard to your hand. And there's some like burst card economy and burst lore, and requiring your opponent to force more interactions by just playing more characters to the board, especially like a dogs versus or Amber Emerald dogs versus a Sapphire Amethyst Blurple list, where there's a limited amount of forced interaction, right? So when you take out the lady and you put in the Eleanor, yes, you're getting more consistent card draw and more consistent like lore gain and damage pings and things like that, but you lose that burst effect where you have, you're bringing back like a Rhino and you're bringing back a 2-cost Tramp. So now you have a Rhino to shrink something for a better Under the Sea, and you have a 2-cost Tramp to buff your Bobby so it can swing for 6 or 7 or whatever you need it to into your opponents. And so I think with the loss of the lady, it's hard to compete from a resource perspective, so then your opponent cannot resource you. And the addition of Eleanor makes a very singular target for your opponent to take down in order to then move on with the game and continue to stall it out, right? So with Lady, it was overwhelming with numbers, and with Eleanor, it's overwhelming with value, and Blurple can handle overwhelming with value because it has very good spot removal. It has Isis, it has access to Elsa, it has access to Purple Hades to force some decision makings of like, hey, do you want to lose that character or give me more fuel? You have Blue Hades, you have Let It Go, you have Into the Unknown. There's a lot of like pick a target and get it off the board. Compared to burning out all of those resources and then just overwhelming with a swarm of characters that Lady just keeps recycling, right? You get rid of a Rhino, you get rid of a Little Lady, you get rid of a Daisy they used to play, or some decks used to play the 1/4 2-quester Daisy, and then they just come back with the next big lady, and the next big lady brings it back again, and then you send something to Inkwell, and they bring back more with the next big lady, and they get to play it again. So they're just kind of overwhelming in that way, and I think by adding Eleanor, cutting out Chromocon, it allows the Blurple player to then just challenge into things a little bit more cleanly, and then adding in Eleanor and cutting out Lady means you're losing a little bit more of that burst value, that forced interaction. You're not burning out those resources as much because you just need to pick off the Eleanor rather than picking off the big lady and the 2-quester they drop behind it, or the big lady and the Rhino, or you can't actually swing into the big lady because they played the Rhino, and those things come into play. The other piece are the ward characters. Blurple now has access to some very big, very good, very sticky ward characters at 4 ink and 5 ink. In the 4-cost inkable 4/5 Quest for 1 Merryweather from set 12, I believe, and the 5-cost inkable 5/5 2-quester Scuttle from set 10, Whispers in the Well. And those two ward characters, their impact is immeasurable in those matchups because at the very least, the Blurple character can control at least a 2-for-1 for each of those, and many times it's more than that. The other big interaction is Eleanor can't target them, so they can sit around with 4 damage for forever, and your opponent has to challenge something in order to remove it, or they can sit around with 4 damage for forever, and you can then play a Cheshire Cat or a Louisa or a Belle to move the damage. They hold damage very cleanly because the Eleanor cannot ping them down. So those ward characters, I think, are even a bigger change, where the fact that the dogs list are going to Eleanor becomes even a bigger boon to Blurple because those ward characters are not interactable by Eleanor, and they can both clear Eleanor very easily with a Force Exert. So there's a whole lot of things going on. Effectively, the changes that have been happening in the wider metagame, because they're good cards. Eleanor's a great card. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Eleanor is a crazy card. You get 2 Eleanors out, and now they're generating 6 ink of value every single turn at the end of your turn for questing 3 characters or singing Under the Sea. Like, that's nuts. But it's a little more susceptible to the Blurple specific removal that is available. So that's what I've seen. That's what I've noticed. And also played a lot of games online against dogs. It seems like 2 out of every 3 games I play online for best of ones on duels is against dogs. So just a lot of familiarity that's built up.
Yeah, and Ryan, I like what you said about the ward characters too, because I know right ahead of the set champs we had done some play testing where I ran Purple Steel. I miss you. And we when we played that matchup, when you stuck the Merryweather on turn 3, it was such a problem, right? Like I could never really cleanly get rid of it, and then if I don't get rid of it, then all of a sudden, to your point, the Cheshire Cat threat now is just so massive because you can get the damage off of it now, and I have to run my stuff into it, and if I have no way of buffing my guys, it's really bad. So yeah, I love some of the changes that Blurple has made, and that you made specifically with like turn 3 Merryweather, turn 4 Scuttle. They're so sticky, and the ward keyword is pretty awesome. And I think like what's also interesting is the evolution of Blurple too, and especially how I've seen you play it specifically, where a couple sets ago, right, like we were really focusing on the evasives, right? And certainly the Amber Horseman Strikes card impacted that, like the ability to play evasives a lot, right? But at the same time, you know, it's interesting to see Blurple lean into some other tools to be really effective still and control the board. And, you know, I think it's a testament to you that you went into a diverse field. And still, even with, like, some of the things that you said about, like, the dog's deck decision-making, like, I still do think, like, it's such a hard deck to beat. So the fact that you played so well into it, I think, is really awesome. And the cards that you were very intentional about, like the Vander Chills, obviously paid off. So kudos to you for making the right deck decisions and those having a payoff as well. Really awesome to see.
Thanks, man. Appreciate the kind words. I did, like I said before, it takes luck to get a set championships win, and I definitely had plenty of luck on the day with matchups and dice rolls and top decks and things like that. And I think against my Amber Amethyst opponent, I think I saw all 4 Hades in the top half of my deck in one of our games, which is the purple Hades, the Hades Looking for a Deal, the 5-cost inkable, 3/4 Quest for 1 from Whispers in the Well, I believe. Where when you play that character, you can choose an opposing character, and your opponent then chooses whether they want to put it on the bottom of their deck or let you draw 2 cards as a result. And in most situations, you can kind of paint a picture where both options are bad options for your opponent, and so that card carries a lot of heavy weight in a lot of those matchups. Whether it's a purple matchup where whoever draws the most cards usually wins, or if it's more like an aggro matchup or a control matchup where you just they let you put something underneath. Now it's a 5-cost 3/4 Quest for 1 that's also a Dragonfire. Pretty great. It's pretty great efficiency for a cost. So I think that card was an MVP, honestly, on the day. Just whenever it was being played, it was like, oh, I get to fill my hand. Okay, great. Or, oh, perfect. You put it underneath. Now I don't have to worry about it. I can use my removal on something else. I can sing this Let It Go on the other character you had on board. Now you don't have anything left, or you let me draw 2, and now I find my Let It Go to sing with my other character to remove that card anyway, so you don't get to play with it anyway. So, purple Hades. Hades Looking for a Deal. Great card. Hard to wrap your head around how effective it really is until you actually play it, because it creates some very interesting decisions for your opponent to make.
It is actually, and speaking of that, Ryan, on the Blurple note too, there is something about playing that Hades and pointing to their really important character, and they're like, I need this to stay around, take the 2 cards and we'll move on we'll go on our merry way. And then with your other guy, you sing Let It Go or something on that guy. It's like you got the 2 cards for free, and you got to stick your 3/4 can sing a 5-cost to do more stuff, right? So it can really snowball bad, and that feels like such a mean play, but it's so powerful. And I think that's where Blurple can really, that's where it's really showcasing some of its tier 1 heights, when it can do some of those things where it's drawing lots and also spot removing important stuff. No deck really does those 2 things in conjunction better than Blurple. So yeah, super cool.
Enter in Ryan's flashbacks of how many cards in hand? Yeah, not for long.
Pretty much. Didn't have to play against a bend of my will, so thank goodness. Yeah.
Well, should we talk about the Lorecast? That is very relevant.
Could, yes, let's do it. So I wasn't able to pay super close attention because it was in the middle of the day, and I only got caught the first part of it intermittently. But I did see a lot of these dual ink cards, and that's where I wanted to start. If that's cool with y'all.
Absolutely.
Namely, the card that I'm most excited about, that I know Konnor's really pumped about at least 2 of these. The first one I want to talk about is my favorite colors, Amethyst and Sapphire, Christopher Robin, Honey Sage, and the game-breaking ability. I don't know if it's actually going to be that crazy, depending on what the power level of the other characters are that go along with it. But Christopher Robin, Honey Sage is a 6-cost inkable 4/4. His first effect, Gather the Party. You can have other honey characters in your deck regardless of ink type. So now you can build a multi-ink color deck as long as they are honey characters out of the other inks. Your primary inks must be Amethyst and Sapphire, because that's the only way you can get Christopher Robin, but your other characters can be if they have the honey designation, can be any ink color, which is incredible. That has never been done before. And I know Konnor is already cooking up at least 4 different deck lists based on the 4 different honey characters that we know about. And how this works. The second ability on Christopher Robin, before I let Konnor talk, because I know he's just chomping at the bit. When you play this character, you may search your deck for a honey card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. If you do, then shuffle your deck. And also Christopher Robin quests for 2. So, regardless, Konnor, what are we cooking with? How excited are you about this card in particular? And then you can maybe segue us into the second Duel Link card that you're super...
Yeah, so, again, when you say the second one, I think there's like 5 that I'm just like, oh, this is so exciting. Oh, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. But yes, Christopher Robin, I can sum it up in one word, and that's just chaos. Because you're always trying to figure out, going in blind, game 1, match 1, you're like, what are they playing? And you're like, all right, I'm going to ink this Ruby Tigger. And you're like, oh, okay, it's probably some like Ruby Emerald, build, actions build, or like a Ruby Steel. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, then I'm going to ink this, this purple, Winnie the Pooh. And then like, oh, Ruby Amethyst. Okay, yeah, I could deal with that. And then they drop like a blue card, and you're like, wait, there's just confusion everywhere, and I love it so much, because the best part is just the chaos. Again, they don't know what to expect. And now, not only did it go from like, oh, here's the limited amount of cards that they could play today, to like, oh, maybe it's a little bit more. Oh, it's every card. And then you have to then remind yourself, like, what honey characters are even out there? And who's going to go out there and memorize every single honey character for the off chance that some random local is going to is going to go in and play this this honey deck? And so, again, I'm always a big fan of thematic decks in general, but wow, this is so exciting. Just so much fun to build around, and I'm very excited. The second Duel Link, I believe that Ryan is alluding to, is the To Infinity and Beyond combo with Buzz and Woody. Is that what you're alluding to?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
yes.
Let's talk about it. So the combination itself is, iconic in general. We just learned, cough cough, Ryan pulling the iconic Buzz, but the idea of being able to kind of pseudo replace the very powerful Clarabelle that is rotating out is very intriguing to me. Again, as a blue-green player, the Clarabelle is kind of a staple, but I'm trying to pull up the explicit verbiage for this this Buzz. Let's see here. This Buzz and Woody combination, because you can shift it on one or the other, which brings in, I guess this is going to be in the topic that we're talking about, is the new mechanic, not really new mechanic, a new verbiage really, because there's either the shift on one of 2 characters, shift on both characters, or shift on 1, or shift on 2, or even with the Turning Red edition, we have the temporary shift. And so it's just something that is very exciting, very new, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun. But this Buzz and Woody, I think what's going to be interesting is that depending on the timing, right? Because especially with the Jungle Guide Woody, you can shift on 3, get them out, quest, draw a card, play a card for free with the cost of 2. If you're emptying your hand pretty quick, you could then shift this Buzz Woody card, and on play, if I'm not mistaken, you draw up to the same amount of cards as your opponent, and then you get to play a card with the cost of 2 or less for free once they quest. And so again, the idea that we talked about a little bit earlier is just character upon character upon character, free play, character under the strength of 2, you play for free, from your discard, play for free, underneath, play for free. It's so intriguing. I think it's going to be kind of a pseudo replacement of dogs, but also with a little bit of Baja twist with that, Clarabelle. But it's just, again, the opportunities that it comes with the addition of toys from Pixar, it's just endless. And that's the fun. I think that's just where you have so many different options, and you open one door and then 5 more open. You open one more, and it's just, really, there's so many options to be creative, which, nothing against dogs, Blurple, even Baja to an extent, of just like deck, net decking, as, Nathaniel and Mac like to allude to, but it's nothing against that, because they're tried and tested. It's great. However, I just, a little bit of originality and teching in a specific card is great, and especially with these options, opening up the variety of, is he going to shift this blue? Oh, the blue-green Mickey and Minnie. That's the one I think I was thinking of. where you can shift for 0.
That one's cool.
But you have to shift on both Mickey and Minnie, shift for 0, and you quest for 5. And when they're banished, you put it into your inkwell. Which, if you remember, you're questing on both Mickey and Minnie, and you have the top card. So you're ramping by 3. So there's definitely going to be some sort of Baja Mickey Minnie combo list, 100%, especially since they reprinted the Investigator Mickey, the 3-cost uninkable that ramps. I think that there's going to be some combo where it's like, oh, the Sapphire Mini, where if you play another character, when this character quests, you gain another lore. Play something on 2, maybe a Mickey or a Minnie, and then you're dropping this massive 5/5 quest for 5, and then auto ramping yourself into the next stage. It's so exciting. And again, I can ramble on, as you guys have known, for hours on just the opportunities and the different types of decks and lists. But I want to open up the conversation. I mean, again, the dual inks, as you're mentioning, the bell card, the iconic is, it's so fun. I think Mac is probably, I know he's on vacation, he's coming back from Disneyland, but he's got to have some sort of like shiver going down his spine of like, oh, red blue? Can I play red blue again? And it's like, it's gonna come back because it's the idea that you can re-ready your ink. It's just like the Mufasa from was it Shimmering? Yeah, I think
yes.
Shimmering Skies. Yeah, so
Shimmering Skies.
It's just so fun. It's a thematic, the iconic duo. Again, I didn't anticipate duo cards. I never would have thought that. So seeing all these different releases is so exciting. It really gets me to double down, especially since this last set was so short. My excitement is still running on a high from Wilds. And now I just was like, all right, let's get it. Let's go attack of the Vine. I'm thoroughly impressed. Let's do it. Let's get these random shenanigans going where I'm dropping a 10-cost 10/10 quest for 3 Floodborn, a big Vine, and just saying like, all right, deal with it. Just seeing what happens, because just pulling it off is crazy of its own. So, but yeah, let's hear from the you two on what you think, because again, if you don't stop me, I'll keep going all night.
I think one thing that I'm really excited about when I look at these dual ink cards is it feels like this is what they were intended to be in some ways, right? Like build around cards. Like it's helping do something that maybe those colors struggle with, and you can kind of help it, right? So for example, or that it already excels at and it's just like advancing that and kind of snowballing it more. So for example, the Mickey and Minnie being this like high quester but like ultra ramp card too, like that's really cool, and it like fits in, I guess, with like the blue-green identity. But like the Violet and Dash Par shift Ruby Steel for 5, where if you shift it on both of them and then it quests or challenges, you draw one for every card underneath it. It's like helping get the thing that like Ruby Steel has for so long struggled with, right, is like card draw. So it's like, yes, it's conditional, but like at the same time, if you can just find one, you still get some value. If you do have both, or you have like some cheap shift targets, like that's kind of awesome that you're gonna like draw 2 cards in a Ruby Steel deck and still get some lore, challenge a guy that's important or whatever, right? So I think that's really cool too, is that like some of these things feel like they're true build around dual inks. And just on the note of the honey thing, I think that is awesome that they're like doing this like break the rules of the game specifically for like that genre, because like when like Pooh Honey Wizard came out, it was like its own form of like this like illustrious card, because the artwork was really awesome and it's Winnie the Pooh, but it had that honey designation. We're all kind of like, why? What is this? What's the point of that? And it's like, hey, we didn't forget about you. Like, we're gonna come back to this, and it will be important one day. And so I think like that's really exciting. And like even seeing some of the honey cards, like yeah, there is like a 4-cost Reckless Tigger. So like there's a world where like you play this Christopher Robin, and because you get to sift through to find, like, you could get the specific honey card that you need for the situation that you're facing. I think that's really exciting. And I think it's a little bit scary because Ryan could like build a Blurple deck and then have this like other stuff going on. So like that's also kind of awesome. So I think that is really cool, and the dual character thing is also awesome. I think I was hoping that there wouldn't be like a Clarabelle 2.0, so like seeing that it's gonna be in Amber Emerald with the Woody thing is like, what a threat, right? Like anytime you have a Woody or a Buzz down, you're like, oh gosh, like they could dump their hand, shift this big thing, and if I've been like filling my hand up, right, you have to play like it's a Clarabelle, right? So I think that's that's really interesting and just like cool. So the dual, I think Ravensburger, my long way of saying, I think they're crushing it. Like when we see these cards and they're this cool and they do these like game busting things, but they're not like overly complicated. They're not like, you know, like they've been done a great job, I think, at introducing like certain mechanisms with each set maybe, or every other set. So for example, we got dual ink in set 8, and then in 10 we got the idea of like boost. So like I think it's nice to have like some of these fun, like introducing a new gameplay mechanic where it changes the way you play, but it's like making you think a little bit, and it's like it will continue to feel fresh if they can continue to be this creative. So kudos to them. The other thing, guys, and I'll shut up after this, that I am super pumped is seeing some Coco stuff on cards. If that playmat is real with Miguel, with like the cover art, with like all that color behind him and this like, what's it called, like Hyperia City or something. City. If that's a playmat, I'm sorry, I have to have it. Like, I don't say that about a lot of stuff, but that is unbelievable. I think I've shared this story, but I actually saw Coco for the first time on a Disney cruise years and years ago, and it was like, it's such a great movie, and I've loved it ever since. The soundtrack is phenomenal, and like seeing it like in Lorcana, it just like makes me so happy. And that is also one where like color just explodes. Like the whole movie is so incredibly colorful. So I just feel like the cards are gonna pop. Any of the other merch it'll be just banger after banger. And I hope that is a playmat or something with Miguel on it with the city behind him. I will search high and low to procure one for myself.
Yeah, Coco is just phenomenal. Again, I think we all have those stories of like, oh, the first time I watched Coco. I don't cry at many movies. It definitely broke me down. It is an emotional one for sure. And as you're mentioning, like watching it come into Lorcana, something that we are also passionate about, is very exciting. It's almost like a doubling down on that first time feeling. And I remember that feeling explicitly. I know exactly where I was watching the Lorecast as Big Hero 6 was introduced during Sail the Azurite Sea. I was upgrading my kids' cribs from like an infant crib into like a toddler crib. And immediately I was like with the little Allen wrench trying to tighten screws, and I see them announce that Big Hero 6 is coming. I was like, that's incredible. I love that. And now seeing this coming after having gone through the emotional roller coaster of Coco, again, I am tickled, and it's exactly the same as you, Nathaniel. If that mat is real, it's no jank for that set, champs. I am going for the playmat.
Yeah, I for one hope it's just one that we can buy for $20-$25. But like, you know, I hope we don't have to go through the gauntlet to get there. One other card I wanted to, and then Ryan, I'm giving it to you. One other card I think that is scary that I saw that they announced is this Carl Fredrickson Ruby card. It's a 4-cost 3/3, which like sounds really underwhelming, but it's whenever you play a location, you may move this character and up to one of your other characters to that location for free. Whenever this character quests while at a location, draw cards equal to that location's lore. You had both. So Ryan, you mentioned that you saw a Ruby Steel list at yours, or sorry, it was Konnor. Either way,
yeah.
Konnor, you saw Ruby Steel
locations. Mine was more of like a Ruby Steel Heroes Challenger action deck.
Sure. But like Konnor, you saw Ruby Steel locations. I saw one at my set champs, which sorry to Games by James in Minnetonka, Minnesota for not shouting you out when I was talking about my set champs experience. It was great. That location list I thought was really strong. Right, like it's really different. A lot of decks aren't really prepared to deal with locations quite like in this exact moment. I think that's where it's fun when like, because I remember locations even back in like Shimmering Skies when it like kind of caught some people off guard. I think there was like it was like Amber Steel locations. Either way, it's like a different type of deck, and this Carl Fredrickson in a Ruby Steel locations list could kind of go crazy. Where it's like if the Carl Fredrickson sticks the turn he's played, that very next turn you have 5 ink to work with, and you've got some like 2 lore pip or maybe bigger locations to play. That just goes crazy, because now all of a sudden you're going to get a bunch of card draw in a deck that historically the game plan has been like just burn them out of resources, right? And then eventually you can like get the locations down and win. But if they're drawing a bunch of cards and just laying down more locations and other big guys, and like the Jack synergy that I've seen with that deck too, like that could be really fun. And this could be another one of those like build around cards, right? Where it's like with Carl Fredrickson and a bunch of locations, you could kind of go crazy and do things that like these decks have historically struggled with. In this case, I know I'm harping on the point of like Ruby sucks at drawing cards, but Ruby sucks at drawing cards. So like this is a way to do that.
I think I don't have the screenshots of them or images of them in front of me, but I do think I saw a couple of very synergistic Ruby locations, or at least one, Paradise Falls, that I think gains a lot of lore when there's a character there, if I'm not mistaken. And so that would be a nice way to kind of trigger this Carl and make it very thematic. So it's a 4 lore location while Carl is there, I believe. So somehow Carl moves their quests and you draw 4. That feels amazing because you've also gained 4 lore by having the location there effectively. And then the synergy of like Carl moving things, I think that there would be a world where you could double up and make a very consistent synergy of playing a character and moving cards to a location for free with the Emerald Goofy, the road trip traveler guy from Fabled, I believe. Where he has a similar effect where I believe if you play him, you can move something to a location, or whenever he moves to a location, you can bring a character with him for free, something along those lines, where you're moving characters for free effectively. So it's just like this mass migration effect, if you will. And then playing things like Illuminary Tunnels in a steel list, I believe gets more lore per location that's on the field that you have on the field. Playing Scrooge's Counting House in Ruby lists, where you boost it and gain lore every time you boost it on the location. Definitely some very good synergies, from very interesting synergies with this Carl and with the Goofy, depending on which type of ink colors you want to include. And since these are not Christopher Robin, you cannot play all the ink colors like the Honey deck can. That being said, I don't know that the Honey deck is going to be powerful enough to make it worthwhile, but it is extremely thematic and very cool to see. I am very interested along the lines of the Honey deck, back to that previous discussion, where Konnor was talking about the ability to kind of like play mind games, if you will, with your opponent of like, hey, here's a Honey card. I dare you to call me on my bluff and say that I'm not playing this in color combination. I want to see one of these Honey cards be so good that it makes it into like a normal core list where you can ink it on turn 1 and your opponent goes, I still don't know what colors they're playing, because that's a Honey card and it doesn't have to be in this deck, so I don't even know what ink color they're playing yet. To kind of hide that information for as long as possible, because obviously information is power, especially in a game where the only information that's missing is effectively what ink colors your opponent is playing at the start of the game. But that being said, it's still a fun way to kind of like cause some misdirection, cause some mind games to happen, and really make people think long and hard about what colors you're playing that day. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in addition to that, like the base has to be blurple, right? And I don't know if any of you saw this, but they are reprinting Morph, the 2-cost shift on anything, but now it's Amethyst. So now, if there's any shift Honey characters, which I hope there are, who knows? Maybe not this set, maybe next set, maybe. But like, how chaotic is that? That you could play a purple card, play a purple card, ink a card, play Morph, and now randomly you could just shift any card that's from the Honey play, like the Honey name sake onto. It's so fun. That is so fun. You can't tell me that's not fun. It's just, chaos.
We're here for the chaos. I do want to talk about the Set Champs promos.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
The cards is a 1-cost inkable 2/1 quest for 1 Rapunzel, with the effect that once during your turn you can discard a card to give this character evasive and +1 lore until the start of your next turn, which is very impactful. It's a 1-cost, effectively an evasive character. If you have, there's some decks or some new cards they're printing with discard synergies. We haven't even talked about that yet, especially in the Emerald ink color, which is what this Rapunzel is in. And the Rapunzel is the Set Champs promo card. So it's the participation card, the non-foil version, and then the foil top 8 version. And then let's talk about the playmat, fellas, because the playmat is what I'm here for, because that playmat is crazy. It is a 10 out of 10. The only reason they're 9.9 out of 10. The only 0.1 I'm taking away from them is, as was pointed out in the Minnesota Discord by I think one of the other players, John, I believe.
Yeah, John.
They did not slap the Attack of the Vine logo on Mike Wazowski's face, which would have been the perfect opportunity to do so, or even just slap Champion across his face. So something to cover his eyeball. It's just incredible that I'm docking them a 0.1 for that, but otherwise the playmat is crazy. It's crazy cool. I definitely want one in my collection if I'm able to luck my way into another one next set. That being said, this is the first time they're doing this thing where they have the card is one art and the playmat is a different art. How do y'all feel about this change to Set Champs promos and pricing?
I would have to say, when it comes to the differences, I'm always up for something new. When it comes to this, man, I really wish it was the second place Matt coming back. I can't help but go back there. But I think it's interesting when it comes to like people just like getting their top 8 promo and then like ditching or like dropping out. I think this is kind of interesting, right? Because it's like, oh, if you're a Rapunzel fan, great, get the Rapunzel card. But in order to get the playmat, you have to stick through to the final. And so I like what they're kind of trying to do in differentiating the two and not having it just like all lumped together as like one kind of thing. However, I do think that the different the different rewards are going to maybe rub people the wrong way. But again, you can't have progression without some sort of change and discomfort.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think maybe there's something to be said about like you can tackle more than one franchise with Set Champs by doing it this way. I personally really like Tangled, so like I feel like I'm probably someone who like would get excited for like a Rapunzel promo card. I do just call me someone who likes the tradition, I guess, but like it is. I do also think it's cool when it's like, hey, the playmat matches like the foil card and everything, and like it's kind of like this thematic set situation. So I think it's a little bit of a weird choice, and I also agree that if they had put the logo on Mike's face, that would have been
so
10 out of 10, nailed it. But yeah, it's such a cool mat, and like guys, getting Pixar like into Lorcana just feels like it is adding so much juice to this game. So like seeing the playmats, seeing the cards, seeing all the other like artwork come to life as part of this game, it makes me continue to think back to when JDZ said, I think the golden era of Lorcana is actually in front of us. It's not behind. And I think like the more we see from this and like what's coming up next, the more I feel like, did he know something? Did he know something he wasn't telling us? Because like it feels like that's happening.
No chance. He's a very forthcoming dude. He would have been outright about it, but he was clairvoyant with that statement. I agree completely. One comment I do have about the playmat and the promo card, I do think that maybe they mocked up the playmat with the Rapunzel promo art and they said, this looks too much like the Rapunzel playmat people can just buy, and we're going to get memed for it. So we better do something different this set and try again next set maybe, or see how it goes, and we'll go from there. I don't hate it because it does make it feel a little bit more... It gives that little extra oomph or juice or incentive to play it out and try to get a playmat. If you're not just like, hey, I like shiny playmats. A lot of people are just like, hey, I want the new art. And I'm okay just getting top 8 and moving on with my day. But having the playmat be a totally different art, I think adds a little bit of extra incentive for a handful of people or a handful of percentage points of people to continue to play through a set championships to get to the playmat and really want to get one of those then, because it is a different art. It's a unique art. It's not anywhere else yet, unless they're going to do this cycling thing where they do the playmat art and then the next set they do a promo card as the art. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's hard for me to believe that they're going to just use the art in one location and that being the playmat. And I have to think they're going to recycle it in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's on an enchanted, or maybe it's the normal art for that card. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not recalling that card if we've seen it already. All that in mind, I think the playmat's amazing, and I'm gonna want one, like I said. And I think the promo card art is amazing, and I'm definitely gonna want one of those, as always. So you'll probably find me at a set championships, at least one or two, hopefully maybe two, in the next set too.
If I'm not mistaken, Ryan, the playmat art is one of the 6 promos that you get from like the pre-release kits. It's a song, "If I Didn't Have You," where it says you and another chosen player each draw 2 cards. It's a 3-cost amber song. If I'm not mistaken, that's the art of the playmat. And so I think they are using it somewhere else, but just not as focused as this past set.
Thanks for calling that out. I actually don't recall seeing that artwork. I remember reading the text on that card, but I don't recall seeing the artwork because I do remember reading the text and thinking to myself, this is terrible in core constructed, terrible in Infinity, but also fantastic in 2v2. Incredible in 2v2, which I can't wait to hear more about this because I have to think they played this at the DLC. But
Absolutely.
Teaser for next week's episode for all you listeners that are still listening. Friends of the podcast, former guests, Hannah and Christian are joining us as a tag team next week on our episode to talk all things DLC Indianapolis, talk about their experiences. I have to think they played 2v2, and I really want to get their insight on this card and how they're going to break it in 2v2 because this seems like a really crazy option for 2v2, but also a not so crazy option for core. I'm not excited to play. I don't really think it's going to see any play in core because that's too simple of an effect to have to exert your character to do it. Where you can just, it's kind of like the show me more replacement a little bit, I suppose. But those are just my thoughts on that card. I remember reading the text, but I don't remember seeing the art. I do love the art on this playmat still.
It does feel definitely like a show me more replacement. I could see it being used in that way where you're just stuffing both players' hands full of cards, and if you've got like some cheaper character that's a Singer 3, it could do the thing. But yeah, it's a little bit underwhelming. I do want to echo Konnor's point too. Please bring back the runner-up mats, for the love of God. Come on. We need more of these mats in the wild. Like, make it feel great to be in a championship, whether you win it or lose it, and get more mats out to players. Because they're awesome, right? Like, it's so cool to have and like to be able to look at these things and like still earn it, even if you do come up second, right? Like we're in a big field of players. So yeah, Konnor, I know you're going to get one, whether it's first or second, you're going to get one. Come on.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the runner-up mat removed? Like the set that I got my first final? Gosh, how painful is that?
Was it?
It was. It was actually, I think,
maybe set 7 or 8. Yeah, it's like right after. But
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was Jafar that we moved to singular.
Who knows what they have for the future? But yeah, I will double down, triple down, whatever you want.
What else from the Lorecast caught y'all's attention that you wanted to bring up for our listeners this week?
I think for me, it's just the excitement. I really think that they are, like, as Nathaniel alluded to, they're crushing it. I think that the new additions, the new changes to mechanics, like the shifting mechanic in general is like, oh, that's super cool. And then now they're doing like duo shift or dynamic shifts where it's like one or two or both or temporary. I think they're keeping it fresh. And I think that is something that is huge in a game that could, in some sets, become a little redundant. And I think I'm really looking forward to this upcoming set, rotation, something fresh, something new, especially with Pixar. And so I think it's just overall, the Lorecast was nice that it was kind of reassuring that they were doubling down on hearing what some of the community members have been saying and really coming at it hard for this upcoming set. And then, yeah, I just genuinely cannot be more excited for these next 2 or 3 sets. It's going to be great.
I don't want to burst your bubble. They did say that Floodborne is rampant in this set based on the lore or the story behind the reason that what the vine is doing and soaking up all the flooded ink from sets 2 or 3, I believe, when the ink flood happened. And so Floodborns are prominent in this set and then will become more rare and scarce in future sets. So we'll see how that impacts things. They did recently implement shifts that were not Floodborns in recent sets, so I don't think the shift mechanic is going anywhere, but I will echo your comment that all these different shift options is really cool that they're expanding upon an already existing mechanic and making it feel fresh and new with the temporary combo, whatever have you shift options that are out there on top of the previously used universal shift that is now that will rotate out when Attack of the Vine releases for the Baymax unit.
Or everyone's favorite shift: discard an action and shift this character for free. Right? Get that bird out.
Oh yeah,
that's everyone's favorite. Everyone's favorite. Well, fellas, I appreciate y'all for joining me on this episode. We talked at length about set championships for this set. We talked a little bit of relatively brief conversation then in comparison for the Lorecast that happened. I am so excited, so pumped about the upcoming reveal season to see what cards are included in this set, and I can't wait to keep up our conversation week after week, day after day. with each of you about what the new cards look like, what the new card play lines are going to be, what the new power cards are, how much better Amber got over where it currently is, how Amethyst is not the villain anymore. It is Amber. Everyone needs to know that Amber is the villain. And to see what different things we can cook up for this next set with all the different shift options, the new the new card types, the honey designation. I can't wait to see all of these things in action and get steamrolled by them all at least one time before I figure out what to do about it. So yeah, thank you all for both offering your insights and sharing that openly with us. For all you listeners, if you haven't already found us, which you probably have because you're here, but you can also find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you're only listening on audio and you want the video version, YouTube is a great place to go for that. Feel free to leave a comment, drop a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to, or to our Apple or Spotify podcast page. Happy to engage with you with any of your thoughts. Let us know if you have a favorite card or favorite artwork from the new set coming out. If you're looking forward to something in particular, drop the comment. Let us know. We'll do our best to respond in a timely manner. I do want to plug in here right at the tail end here. The Minnesota Anniversary event is upcoming August 22nd and 23rd at Games Center in Roseville, Minnesota. If you're not already interested and you want to get more information, you can look it up on PlayHub, and we can get that information to you that way. Otherwise, looking forward to seeing everybody there. It'll be a blast. It was a great time last year. It's bound to be a good time this year, and I can't wait to get out there with some Attack of the Vine cards already in circulation for a month, and see what kind of brewing people have been doing and cooking they've been coming up with. Maybe Konnor can pull out his honey deck, or he can play his Minnie Mouse shift shenanigans.
Absolutely.
And see what comes of that. Without further ado, though, fellas, let's get the duck out of here.